Hello Facebook world. I'm in my apron making pancakes and it's freezing cold here in Adelaide, so I'm obviously rugged up in my beanie and my scarf. I wanted to make this video as a offering of support to people who are going through some really frightening, challenging and scary times at the moment. This past week, mass consciousness went through a massive uplevelling. I'm sure that you all have felt it, perhaps either through the contrast of the fear of the events that are going on, the confusion of certain breakdowns in a lot of our systems, politically, the violence has been going on, all that kind of stuff. And it is my personal understanding that when we have that going on in the world around us, it's because it's an aspect of our human psyche, mass consciousness psyche. So the way I see it is that we're all connected as the one mind, if you understand that consciousness is all connected. And there's always shadow aspects and light aspects to a psyche. So if you want to draw that back, imagine me as the world for a moment. I'm representative in this moment as a mass psyche. So I am the mass psyche of this body, this earth, that is Emma. And I have a lot of different aspects to my psyche that are helpful to my growth and often are hindering to my growth. Ultimately, they are a part of my growth, but I have attributes that are in shame and in fear and in trauma and can be angry and violent and full of rage and act out and not respond from what I know in my heart to be the truth of who I am. And I have a lot of light and I have a lot of joy and creativity and connection and love, and I can celebrate the world, and I have a giving nature, and I have all these other things that make up the mass consciousness of the earth of Emma. So if you consider all the organisms within me could be represented as all the different humans on earth, we have a mass consciousness. So for me to feel good and be lifted and grow, my focus needs to be on the parts of myself that are in alignment with joy and with love and with the truth of life that I feel to be true. And I'm giving this example because when fear happens in such a way in our environment, we get very protective, defensive, frightened for our safety. The structure of our perceived safety seems to crumble around us, and we question what it is we believe was true, and we question how much we trust our fellow humanity, our brothers and sisters, the other aspects of our body, our giant human earth organism. So when that's happening as an individual organism within this whole, the best thing you can do is align with your truth, with what you know to be true. Just because other aspects of you might be dragging down and playing out the shadow aspects doesn't mean the whole of the earth has to go there in resignation and fear and condemnation. It's like saying, coming back to the body example, it's like saying if some cells of my body are not in alignment and they're going into dis-ease or sickness, it doesn't help me to go into the apathy and the desperation and the fear and the poor me guilt and go down there with those cells and just exacerbate that dis-ease. I need to be the one that pulls my cells and myself back up into alignment. And that's how I see approaching the community of this earth and what we're going through. And I don't think that everyone should personally take responsibility for other people's actions, because we still have the separate individual experience of our lives. But to understand and not to blame the people who are doing the horrid things. You don't have to be in their presence. You don't have to support them. If you can stop them, go ahead and stop them, but don't hurt them. I think that is the key message. Don't hurt them just because they're hurting you or you're feeling hurt about what they do. Don't hurt them. So I wanted to shed that light today on this topic. There's a lot of people crossing over at the moment, transitioning back into non-physical, and that's good. That's where they want to go. They've obviously finished up their incarnation and their plans for this particular life that is theirs, and it's time for them to move on. It's really difficult for us who are still in physical and attached to their identity of who they are to us. It's incredibly challenging, and I'm not presently experiencing that, but I know people who are, and I can't even imagine the mixed emotions, sadness, grief. I cannot imagine how you might be feeling. But I can say this from my perspective of being in alignment with upstairs and myself. Everything that's happening is perfect, and where they're going to is so full of love and so full of light and so full of heaven, and they are happy and cheering and buzzing and tingling and having a party, and they just want you to know that. And when you find that joy and that truth within you, you lift your energy up to align with where they're at, and you can hear their messages. You might hear a ringing in your ear, random pieces of information. You might feel so familiar to them, or such a closeness of their presence. They're there. They are never, ever able to leave you, because they're a part of you, and they're a part of God or consciousness, the universe, which you are as well. The only thing that separates us is the fact that we're in physicality, 3D, which the very essence of that causes us to forget. So if you want to connect with your loved ones as they are crossing over, if they have crossed over, you got to get happy. You got to get happy. You got to feel your heart. You got to speak your truth, and you got to listen and ask them to communicate with you. Don't be afraid of appearing crazy or nuts, don't be afraid of being afraid of having your mind blown or changed by a new experience. Because they're there, and they're here to help you, and they need you to be happy to communicate with you. So don't go fakely trying to be happy and like, oh yeah, everything's fine while you're grieving. Grieve the shit out of all of your emotion, but don't tell yourself the story. Feel it, own it, acknowledge your pain, but remember the truth of God and light. When I say God, that is the God of your understanding, not of religion or whatever you understand God to be. All that is the light, the source, the consciousness, the thing that gives you tingles within, that is God. So find your alignment first, and you'll be able to be forever connected with your loved ones, wherever they are, physical or not. Keep it real. Have fun, feel your feelings, be honest, be true, and I will see you sometime in the future.